The Nelson Series in Human Resources Management is the best source in Canada for reliable, valid, and current knowledge about practices in HRM. To continue the high level of support that the series has brought to HR programs across Canada, Nelson Education is introducing MindTap, with new editions starting with Recruitment and Selection in Canada by Catano, Wisner, and Hackett. Through personalized paths of dynamic assignments and applications, MindTap is a digital learning solution that turns cookie cutter into cutting edge, apathy into engagement, and memorizers into higher level thinkers. In addition to reading, quizzing, and study tools, MindTap includes engaging assets like animated overviews, brand new videos, and a brand new HRM Now blog that brings up-to-date examples and activities into the course. For more information, contact your Nelson Education sales representative, and please continue watching for samples of our upcoming videos and animations.
Chapter 9, Selection 3, Interviewing. In Chapter 9 of Recruitment and Selection in Canada, we looked at the most popular selection procedure in most organizations, employment interviews. More and more Canadian organizations have replaced traditional unstructured interview approaches with structured ones. Unstructured interviews often result in unreliable and unjustifiable information, which may put organizations at risk for human rights complaints. And yet, many organizations still use this risky approach to conducting interviews. These organizations do not follow best practices for interviewing and have very poor or even illegal hiring practices. The human resources professional must ensure that best practices are in place for each step of the recruitment and selection process. Chapter 9 discussed Figure 9.1, Dip-Boy's model of information processing and decision making. This model applies more to unstructured interviews than structured interviews. Dip-Boy's model looks at how an interviewer's and applicants' expectations prior to the interview affect an interviewer's behavior, which then affects an applicant's behavior, which then affects the interviewer's overall impression of the applicant. Structured interview approaches, such as standardization, job-related questions, and standardized scoring systems, were developed to address the weaknesses of unstructured interview approaches. Structured interviews need to focus on job analysis and assess applicants' abilities that are related to the job in order to help ensure validity and reliability. Effective interview questions ask candidates about realistic situations that are linked to the activities of the position and organizational culture, including issues related to workplace conflicts and competing demands. Structured approaches require scoring guides to ensure that results are accurately analyzed. This brings more objective data so the hiring managers can make better decisions, which are consistent and defensible should those decisions be challenged through internal, external, or legal procedures. There are many ways to create a structured interview, such as situational interviews, behavior description interviews, and experience-based interviews. Structured interviews are more reliable, valid, and legally defensible than unstructured interviews. But it's important that interviewers are trained in how to conduct and score interviews. The HR professional must ensure all candidates are given the same structured interview to ensure consistency of approach and a perception of fairness for all candidates. Since employee responsibilities change because of changes in the workplace, more organizations are moving from assessing candidates for specific job skills to assessing candidates for organizational fit, transferable skills, and personality attributes. Structured employment interviews are able to assess these three aspects. Some organizations are adopting new interview approaches that involve technology, such as video conferencing, internet interviews, puzzle interviews, and multi-mini interviews, or MMIs. But more research needs to be done to determine the validity of these approaches and how they affect interviewers and applicants' responses. Interviewing will still be the most relied upon recruitment and selection tool HR professionals and organizations will use, so it is imperative the HR professional become expert in this process.
So I am open to feedback if the candidate is open to having the feedback. I don't think that I would just go out and give that candidate feedback, but I have a number of candidates who have come back and asked me, what could I have done differently, or what didn't I answer well, or can you provide me in terms of some constructive criticism? I honestly believe that there's nothing wrong with that. I think we're all human beings. We're all here to help each other. So from an HR perspective, if I'm able to help that candidate who may not have been successful in my role, make them successful for another role, I think that's something that I should do and be happy to do that. I'm not there to demoralize anyone, but I'm certainly there to help them in terms of getting to the next step for them.
So my biggest piece of advice is know your numbers. Know how to find the numbers, analyze the numbers, and present the numbers. That's the one thing that I learned over the years. And in recruitment, when you're talking to the CFO and you're talking to the CEO or you're talking to a senior manager, it's numbers. What's the ROI? How much did that cost us? What's the benefit on that? So don't forget to learn and know your numbers and present those as part of your analysis on your process.